If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. Thank you.
It's your time for Chai with Nanice. Get ready for substance, clarity, change, and especially empowerment. Get ready to turn over stones, uncover stories, and get to the heart of the matter in every area of your life. Any mood runs, any emotion flies, and your dreams are within your grasp. There are no limits or boundaries, and your comfort zone is out of reach, yet it's the safest place you will ever be. Come in, sit down, and have some chai with Nanice.
Welcome to Chai with Nanice. I'm Nanice. Today's topic is unworthiness and what that means for you and how it can transform your life. So get a pen and a pad and take some notes, because by the end of the hour, your life has the potential to change in every regard. It all starts with worthiness. It is the secret to a powerful, positive life. Today's show, we're going to do in a little bit of a different format. I'm actually going to be a guest on my own show. I'm a guest on Chai with Nanice, and today interviewing me on Chai with Nanice is going to be my good friend Lawrence Touitou. And Lawrence, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Nanice. How are you?
Lawrence. I'm awesome, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. We're going to have a great show.
Yeah, I'm really glad to be here as well. Thanks for inviting me on your cool show.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm wondering, could you tell our listeners a little bit about you and how you came to be here today?
Yeah. Actually, the first time I met, I got to know I got to know you, Nanice, was at Burning Man, so that was in August. And I've been going through quite a lot of my own major transitions in life, and I just saw you there. We didn't meet at that time, but it's actually cool that we're doing a show on worthiness, because I think that was one of the topics that we talked about. And when I got home, we'll talk about maybe some more experiences at Burning Man throughout the show. But after I got home, I had a bunch of business cards, all the people that I met. And yours was definitely, one of the ones that really stood out. I really felt like, I connected to you. So, I always go to the website. I check out people's, websites and see what it was all about. And that's when, you had a great website. I saw your website, Nanice.com. I went there and I was reading through a lot of your stuff, and it really resonated with me. And then I saw, this coaching program, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. Mm-hmm. But, isn't it weird? It's only for women, It seems like it was only for women, and then I was like, okay, that never stops me, So I really felt like, you know what? Why should it only be for women? And I started writing, and I started writing you, and I started writing emails, and I had to start kind of breaking down this castle, which is, basically to get through to you, because, obviously, you have a lot going on, and you have a lot of people around you, and I just, I had to get through the email, and then I had to write this reason why I wanted to be a coach, and, I didn't hear anything. It was like, I think it was like a month or 2 months. And then, just by chance, I thought you lived in LA because you did LA Talk Radio, and I didn't know anything about LA Talk Radio. And I thought, well, LA Talk Radio is in LA. So I thought, well, she was in LA, and I'm in San Francisco, and wouldn't it be great if one day, I could go to some sort of seminar or something, or meet. I was thinking, I want to meet Nanice in LA somehow. And it just, it's just this weird thought. Wouldn't it be cool? And then, I'm still writing you emails. I'm still talking about this Echo coaching class. And then, one day, I never got any response. I just gave it up. And I had a trip to L.A., and it was, Adam Apollo, who was on your show about a month ago. He did that Jedi training.
Yes.
And there were 10 people that showed up. And you and I were 2 of those 10.
Yes.
And I thought that was really amazing, and that weekend really allowed us to kind of, get to know each other and connect.
It was funny, Lawrence, because I walked in, and this was at one of my best friend's house, and he had actually picked me up at the airport, so by the time we got back there, the group had already been going, and we walk in, and there's this very attractive man, you, jumping up and down, oh, I can't believe you're here, I can't believe you're here, and my whole brain's going, do I know him? Who is it?
What's your friend's name over there again? What was his name?
Jay Sable. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah,
he's on the show too. Yes.
Right near the beach. And I mean, what are the odds? That was amazing. And then
and the odds are 100%. And how do I know they were 100%? Because it happened. There's really, it's like when we understand what life really is about, we understand that it could be no other way. As soon as we choose something and we decide that that's what we want, it comes to us, and we just have to be willing to follow intuition, follow guidance, and show up when we're asked to show up, and it will be waiting for us. And it really can be no other way. So the odds are 100%. And I think we're just beginning to awaken to this as a society, as a global society, and understand that we truly are the creators in our worlds, in our life. So of course, it could be no other way.
Right. It was really awesome, and it was had it been a bigger group or done in a hotel or the usual gigs when you go to a conference or a workshop. I mean, this was so intimate that there was no choice over 3 days that we had to kind of interact, and we did interact very intimately with a lot of the people there. So that was really cool.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you're on the show here today, and we decided that we were going to talk about this topic of worthiness, which, as you know, on many shows that I've been a guest and I've spoken about, and I've spoken about a little bit from time to time on Chai, but it really deserves its own show and its own format. So I'm really excited to get into meat of worthiness, so to speak, today.
Absolutely. You can never talk too much about worthiness. It's really a core issue that is hiding behind a lot of other things, and definitely it also ties in with how I met you as well. So I mean, we can get started talking about it, and then I just wanted to throw in that the reason. The thing that I think struck me most about you, Nanice, when I first met you, is that decision that you made, way back early in your life, about what you wanted for your son. And there was like one thing. It was that one thing, and you really focused on that one thing. And that one thing was, what was that one thing?
Yeah, so I think you're talking about when I discovered that I was pregnant at 17 and didn't even know I can get pregnant, certainly did not want to be pregnant. That wasn't in my little to-do list. And when I found out that I was pregnant and when I decided to have the baby, I asked myself, what is the one thing that I want to give to my child? One thing, that's simple. Instead of like 100 things or 10 things, one thing. And the answer came almost immediately, and that was a sense of high self-esteem. Because I realized that without a sense of high self-esteem that he would be struggling against life. That's what I was doing. I was struggling against life. I had just gotten out of a horrifically abusive relationship that, I know that I wouldn't have been in it even at that time if I had a sense of high self-worth, which I didn't. And so as soon as I decided that I would give this unborn child self-esteem, I realized that in order to give it to him, in order to give it to anyone else, that I had to first find it for myself. And at that moment, I sat out on my own path to try to figure out what it was and to give it to myself. And that path led to books and inner searching and a lot of emotional upsets and courses and everything that you could imagine. But I knew that that was the destination, and I knew that I was being successful because I was starting to feel better about myself, and my child, who was getting older, he was feeling good about himself too. So I knew I was on the right path. And the interesting thing now is that on the other side of that path, so to speak, is that when you really understand what self-esteem is and you really master it, where you own it, this concept of self-esteem completely disappears. It doesn't even exist in your consciousness anymore. And I think that's true with everything. When it becomes a part of you, it's no longer in your consciousness is like, I have to get this or I have to prove it. It is you. Just like, you don't go around seeing a dog saying, I have to prove I'm a dog or I have to prove I'm a cat. It doesn't happen. It's intrinsic. And I think the same is true for self-esteem and many other things. So it's this beautiful journey. And, it can be a long journey or a short journey. It was a long journey for me because I didn't have a lot of guidance. And I was kind of, a fish out of water in many ways. But truly, when you understand the journey, it can become very, very easy for anybody. And that's what one of the many things that I'm here to share with the world. And I think that this is how we help transform our world, by discovering the sense of high self-esteem, or what I now call worthiness. It's worthiness. It's knowing your worthiness. Changes everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's, and I think that's why people, resonate with what you're doing is, not only you are coaching people and giving workshops and all these things, but you've come down that road and you are somebody that, knows where people are because you've been there, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly.
And that's what definitely, attracts me to your teachings and all the things that you put out. I mean, if somebody said, I've got 1 hour,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is one thing that I can do right now? What is one thing or one awareness or one exercise that I could do right now?
Right.
To put me in touch or put me on the track of improving, my self-worth or my self-esteem. What would that be? What comes to mind?
Yeah. Well, one thing is understanding where this concept of self-worth or lack of self-worth comes to, which I'd like to talk about in a moment. But one other thing, the one thing that we can do immediately, it's very simple, and it is stop talking to ourselves in negative ways. Most people do it. They don't even realize they do it. They go around putting themselves down. I'm fat, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough, I'm too much of this, I'm too much of that. And we don't even realize it. One of the exercises that I have in the Echo School, it's one of the first exercises is consciousness clearing. And what that is just becoming aware of this negative self-talk. It's interesting because, my house now I have, my older son, Dustin, that we were just talking about. He's 28 now, and I have 2 younger sons, and they're 15 and 13. And my daughter-in-law lives with us too, and she just had a baby. And so there's only one rule in my house. That's it. There's just one rule, and that one rule is we don't think or talk badly about ourselves or each other. That's the only rule. And yeah,
that's a great rule. But go ahead. When you're done, I've got a real question for you then.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, no, that's the rule. It's not allowed. You can go somewhere else, but they don't even do that. They don't talk badly about people. They don't talk badly about themselves. It's a training. And so, that was one of the first things that I did, that I realized that one of the reasons that I was feeling so bad is because I had all this negative self-talk going on. And so I made a commitment to myself at that time that I was not going to think bad thoughts about myself. And if I had a bad thought, I would shake my head, I would say no to it, I would stomp my foot, I would do anything I could, and I would replace it with a positive thought. And the more you do something, even if you don't believe it, you create new patterns and new connections in the brain, and sooner or later you realize that you're thinking less negative thoughts and less negative thoughts and less negative thoughts, and you're thinking more positive thoughts and more positive thoughts. And one day you realize that your entire consciousness is just filled with beautiful thoughts about yourself and others. And this is really how we get to be the change we want to see in the world, because everything that we project out into the world is really a reflection of what's going on inside of us. And it's difficult to change the subconscious mind because it's so deep within us, but we do know what our thoughts are, and if thoughts pop up, it's a reflection of the subconscious mind, and then they reflect out into the screen of our life. So where can we start? We can start with the one thing that we have control over, and the one thing, and there's a few others, but one major thing that we have control over every moment of the day is the thoughts that we pay attention to. Now, there's a lot of people that say, how do you control your thoughts? You can, they just come up. True, they just appear out of nowhere, it seems, but we do have the choice on whether we give them attention or not. So it's like if I think the thought, oh, I'm stupid, and I pay attention to it, and I keep feeding into that thought and give myself, oh, why am I so stupid? And I answer, I'm so stupid because of this and this and this and this, then guess what? I'm feeling pretty stupid. But if I have the thought, I'm so stupid, and another part of me says, nope, not thinking that thought, nope, and replacing it with a positive thought, something, that's I can believe, hopefully, but even if I can't, just replacing with a positive thought. And the more I do that, the more those old thoughts of I'm stupid or whatever it is, they lose their power until they're not there anymore.
That's
powerful
awesome.
Tool. Yeah.
Very powerful. And, I don't know if this kind of matches. I don't want to take you off this train, but, I lived in Israel for about 4 years, and when I started learning the language, what I found was really interesting was that there was no word in the language for I am. Okay, there was. You just say like, I cold, or right. I hungry, right? So this whole concept of I am, and then I remembered kind of like in my teachings from Hebrew school, I remember that you don't say the Lord's name in vain, and I think that carries out into a lot of other religions and a lot of other teachings, and I started to think about it. Maybe they left it out because they associated I am with some association with a godlike state, because you don't say God's name in vain. So they took it out, but they do have I will be, and they do have I was. And so going back to what you're saying, I almost think about it when somebody says something negative about themselves using those words, like I am stupid. I look at it like, you're using the Lord's name in vain, man. Don't do it. Just don't do it. You're not supposed to be doing that. Say something positive about yourself. Say something encouraging and uplifting and something that is, indicative of, your power. So I just wanted to throw that in there because that's kind of how sometimes I look.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Supposed to? I don't think we're supposed to do anything. We're not supposed to do anything. I don't think that anyone or anything is invested in what we're supposed to do. I think it's a choice. And we can choose to think thoughts that bring more light and love, or we can choose to think thoughts that have less love and, more darkness and more fear. The choice is ours, and that's the point. This is what free will. So the supposed to, and this is one of the things with religions, because religions tell you you're supposed to, you have to, and if you don't, there's consequences. And this actually goes back to the whole worthiness conversation, because as soon as there are conditions on worthiness, it's not worthiness. So we look at a lot of religions today, and we look at even our economic system, our government systems, our education systems, and they all teach programs of worthiness. And what that means is they teach you that in order to be deserving and survive and even, have good in life, so to speak, that you have to meet certain conditions. You have to be worthy and having met these conditions. So the education system is just an absolute great example of that. It's true in the United States and many other places. So if you think about it, most children, they're happy-go-lucky, and provided they haven't been in an abusive family or situation, they're happy-go-lucky. And then at, 4, 5, 6 years old, they start school. And as soon as they start school, what do they learn? The very things that they learn is that there's right and wrong, there's good and bad, there's failure and success, there's deserving and not deserving, and they're constantly compared. And this is the program of worthiness. This is the program of worthiness. So it's like, if I am a success, if I, do good, if I, people like me, if I'm deserving, then I'm worthiness, then I'm worthy. And so they go through years and years in this, and they finally get out of school, 12 more years later, and they have been so programmed with this program of worthiness that they find themselves in a life feeling that they're undeserving because they have to meet certain conditions, and some of those conditions are unrealistic or unattainable for a lot of people. And even if we do meet those conditions, the bar keeps getting higher and higher and higher. And so basically our education systems are setting us up to feel unworthy. And it's when we look at the whole system, it fits right in with that, because the government system and the economic systems and religious systems, they're really the same thing. They teach programs of unworthiness and money, for example, you have to do this, this, and this, and you have to be valued in a certain way in order to be worthy of having what you want in life. We don't see it that way because we've been brainwashed. But that's really what's happening, and many religions too. They teach us that if we don't act a certain way, if we don't behave a certain way, then we're not worthy. We're not worthy here, and we're not worthy in the afterlife. And that's not worthiness. As soon as we put any conditions on worthiness, any conditions at all, it's not worthy. There's no worthy in that. It has to be intrinsic. It has to be intrinsic. I mean, if we are all unconditionally worthy just for being these spiritual reflections of God, or however you want to put it, then how can we prove something that we already are? Can you prove something that you already are? I know I can't. It's impossible.
No, but I think what you're bringing up is a huge awareness for myself, for a lot of people, and it's really an epiphany. It's not about, I guess, combating against all these external forces that are, telling us that we are only worthy if we follow this route or we follow this route. It's just to become aware that is just a superficial program, and to become aware of where we've bought into that, and to try to maybe loosen that up a little bit. Isn't that kind of the idea?
Right. It's about, becoming aware of where we have handed over our power, handed over our sense of worthiness, and re-owning it. We begin
Right.
to look at the area of our lives. Okay, so I don't feel. And how do we know when we're feeling worthy or not feeling worthy? Well, it's really easy, because whenever you're feeling bad about something, or you're having fear about something, or any jealousy, anything like that, it's telling you that you're really not feeling worthy. Because when we look at it under the spiritual microscope of the universe, that's exactly what we see.
Right.
We see somebody who doesn't really feel worthy about themselves. Because when we feel worthy, we're not jealous, and we're not envious, and we don't get angry or frustrated. We own our power, and we own
Right.
our power when we know our worth. It can be no other way.
You know what, Nanice, do you think we could share that example that you worked on with me? Because that was, I think, could help people to understand how worthiness hides under things. I think, that we had a conversation a few weeks ago about worthiness, and you told me something about, that I was building a house for somebody even if they didn't want it built.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you recall that. There was something where, you had seen that I was building houses for people even if they didn't want it built, and you said that, I thought they were supposed to want it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked, I don't know, we asked each other, like, why do I think that they're supposed to want this? And the reason was that I wanted to be appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be appreciated. And I started to go through this exercise with you, and even on my own later on and weeks later, and I said, all I want is really to be appreciated. I want somebody to say, yeah, that's a good job, or, hey, thanks a lot, or something like that.
Right.
And then I said, well, why don't I appreciate myself? Why am I doing this? And we all do this. We are running ourselves ragged, and we're going out into the world trying to impress everybody, thinking that at some point somebody's going to come up to us and say, hey, great job. I really, and the only person that can do that is us.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's the key, and that doesn't matter what height you climb. If you are still being owned by the voices of your parents, or the voices of society, or the voices of your profession, or the voices of your religion, then you're just you're not there yet. If you can just become aware of where your belief system is, and where you're giving up yourself, because you're not really, centered in your own love, love and embrace yourself, and your own self-love and self-appreciation and self-worthiness.
Right.
Then, so appreciation is, an example I just wanted to bring up of something that can cleverly mask your lack of worthiness. And I just wanted to tell people that and share that, because it's a real example that happened with me, and that probably is still happening with me. But at least I feel I'm at a stage where I can see it straight on, and I didn't hide behind it. I'm fully in that experience, and wanting to go in as deep as it takes so that I get to the bottom of it and move through it.
You're conscious of it. Once we become conscious of it, of something like that, it begins to transform and change. And sometimes it happens instantly, and sometimes it's over a period of time. But it's the looking at it, the shedding light on it, that transforms it. And Lawrence, I love what you said about the appreciation, because that's absolutely right. We all have needs, and our needs are different, and they can be a need for appreciation or understanding or acceptance, and there's a long, long list. Of course, again, when you look under these needs, under the microscope of the universe, it really goes down to the need to be loved, that we're just all looking for love. That's all we're doing. Even if somebody is nasty to you or, mean or seems selfish or whatever, what they're really doing is just asking you to love them. And we're always asking people to love us as well. And in our way, we're always shedding love. Really, when we look at the purpose of anybody, any purpose, it's really to give love. It's that simple. So a little side note, if you're looking for your divine purpose, again, when we look under that, when we look at that under the divine microscope of the universe, then again, we see that it's really our purpose is love. But getting back to this concept of needs. So what happens is if our needs are not met, and many of us do not grow up and experience in homes where needs were met, and that's not our parents' fault or anybody's fault. They're doing the best they can, and chances are their needs weren't met. So I'll use myself as an example, because I'm a living example for just about every issue there has ever been on this planet. So, and that's
You're the master.
I am. So appreciation is a really good one. Now, I never realized that I had such a great need for appreciation, and many years ago, I was in a relationship, and we worked together. We were together for many, many years, and I just felt so unappreciative and appreciated. And notice I made that little Freudian slip, and I'll get to that in a second. I felt just really unappreciated, and so what I would do is I would do more and more and more and more, and we had a business together, and I would do more and more and more and more, and I would end up sacrificing myself, and I'd end up sacrificing time with my children, and I just kept doing more and more. Now, why was I doing all these things? Of course, consciously, I couldn't have defined that at that time, but it was to get appreciation. And I would do all these things, sacrifice myself, and all these things, sacrifice my soul, and I still didn't get the appreciation. And it went on and on and on, and I just kept complaining to my boyfriend and partner that I, wanted appreciation, and he wasn't appreciating me, and I just, and we'd fight over this, and I still stayed. And one night, after a very, very difficult day, we were lying in bed, and part of me's like, I should just get up and leave, because he was just not paying attention to me. He had rolled over, went to sleep, and I should have taken care of myself and left, because we didn't live together. But instead, I just laid there feeling sorry for myself, feeling unappreciated and unloved, and I literally watched my spirit get up out of my body and walk out the door. Now, don't you think that should have been a sign that something was wrong? And it took me quite a while after that to actually get it. And one day I got it. And that was that I was looking for him to appreciate me. And that wasn't going to happen. And in that moment, I realized that it really wasn't about him. I realized that my whole life I had been looking for others to appreciate me. This had just become the most dramatic. I kept knocking on this door the longest. In the past, I just left relationships, which really made me understand why I had so many relationships that didn't work out. So in that moment, I realized that I was going to have to own that and give myself that thing that I was trying to get from everybody else. And so I chose to appreciate myself. That was a commitment, a choice that I made to myself. Soon after that, the relationship ended because it had served its purpose and it was complete. And that's exactly what I did. I started appreciating myself so much that the need began to disappear. And that's what happens when we feed our own needs and we feel worthy and we feel the love, then we stop looking for it from outside sources, so that we're no longer sacrificing ourselves or doing things in order to get our needs met. Most people end up in lives that they don't particularly like because they're trying to get their needs met. And they're not getting their needs met, so they just keep working harder and getting angrier and more frustrated, and they're just going down a road that doesn't support them. So when we turn the journey inside and we give ourselves what we need, the appreciation, the acceptance, the understanding, then what happens is we begin to feel this sense of worthiness. We begin to feel this love, and as it moves through us and permeates us, it becomes saturated within us. We become it, And then the overflow of it out into the world is what we give to others. And really, Lawrence, this is the only true giving. You know, so many people out there, so many people in relationships wondering why they don't work. Well, we just talked about one of them, you know, looking for our needs to be met. But the other one is that we think that we're giving love, but we're really not giving love. So it's like if we're not full inside, what we're really looking for is the other person to fill us inside. This goes back to the needs again. So it's like if I don't love myself, then I need someone else to love me. And if they don't love me, then, you know, this whole big dynamic, and this is why people fight. This is really why people fight. They fight over giving and receiving love. So it's like, what it looks like is this. So when I'm full and I have an overflow of love and whatever I give from that is truly a gift. But if I'm not full and I try to give you love or acceptance or make dinner for you or whatever, and I need something, then really what it is an unspoken contract. I'm actually looking for you to give me appreciation or something back. And in that way you sense that. And so instead of, you know, really being appreciative for that dinner, feeling my neediness, you unconsciously hold back, and I go on feeling unappreciated. You go on feeling like you have to protect yourself because I've created this unspoken contract and you don't want any part of it. And this is what happens in relationships.
Oh, my God, Nanice, there's so much packed into what you just said. I'm serious. I don't know if everybody else who's listening is, you know, like really kind of, you know, like sitting with what you just said, but I know I sure am, and boy, it's so true, you know, it is so true, you know, it's unbelievable. And yeah, there's a lot of relationships, I would say more often than not, that, you know, are, you know, unhealthy and have these dysfunctions because people think it's love, but what it is this unhealthy need that, you know, you're not able to meet in yourself. And so, you know, it's not about love, it's about this dependency, it's about this neediness, and it's about, you know, manipulating other people to do what we want to get our needs, and all we want is to get our needs, and, you know, all of that goes right back to self-worth and being worthy. And once I think we're worthy, those patterns start to break down.
Right.
And I think if you have a partner or significant other and one of you are at that stage where you do find your worthiness, then it changes the nature of the relationship, and it kind of forces the other person to either change with you, or the relationship no longer has a grounds for being.
Right.
And
that's why a lot of people are afraid too. They, you know, they become aware. They start to wake up, and they understand the dynamics. But they know that if they start to shift, then that means the relationship's going to end, which just feeds right back into the whole dynamic of the problem of the relationship.
Yeah, because it was built under kind of a false premise in the first place.
Right.
That is a difficult thing, very difficult, and, you know, I can definitely relate. I'm going through some of that myself. But you know what? I just I think I'd like myself, everyone, to sit with that, unless you have anything more to say, and then I wanted to ask you a question.
Go ahead, shoot.
Is that cool?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great. You know, it is the holiday season. People are with family, or going to be with family, or have been with family, and you know, so relationships right now, you know, everybody's like, oh, I'm going to have to go see, you know, Uncle Mike and, you know, Dad and Mom and all the dysfunctions, all the birthplace of all the dysfunctions.
Right. The birthplace.
You know, for a lot of people, that's a great experience. But a lot of people, it's always challenging. And so, you remember how you were saying at the beginning of the call, you were like, okay, so we talked about what's the first thing or the one thing that you could do right now to improve your self-worth. And we talked about stop negative self-talk.
Right.
And that's awesome. And you have a rule in your house. And I think, you know what, I'm going to make that rule in my house. But let's say, for example, you know, Aunt Matilda is coming over, and she just, all she does is freaking complain and complain and complain and complain. And she's coming over tonight for dinner, and she's going to sit next to you, and she's going to squeeze your cheek.
Yes.
And she's going to start, after a short time, giving her victim story, giving her, oh, it's so nice to see you. I haven't, how
so
come
she's Yiddish?
All right, Italian. Let's do an Italian accent.
Okay. Because I don't know if Matilda is...
How come you're not calling me? What's the problem?
Exactly.
Whatever it is. But, how can you stay present for, people around you?
Yeah.
And not either reject them or, how do you keep that air of positivity and not let them bring you down?
Right. Well, we get to set boundaries. Whoever wants to be in our space has to meet certain conditions, and that's okay. So if they don't, then they don't have to be in our space. So I'll give you a great example. So my mom could be Aunt Matilda. She really could be. Of course, she will deny it, and she doesn't listen to the show now. But she could be, and this is how this is how she was brought up, and that's just how she views the world. Well, anyway, years ago, it was about 12 or so years ago, and I had moved out to Utah. And before that, actually, I had lived with my mom, and we were very close, and she wasn't happy about me moving away because I was the one who took her, to all the stores, and I was her best friend and everything. So when I moved away and took her grandchildren, she wasn't very happy. And so I wanted to support her and talk with her, but every time we talked on the phone, she would be Aunt Matilda, and she would, start complaining about everything and trying to really blame me for everything. And I realized after a short period of time that I dreaded talking with her because I would get off the phone and I would be exhausted. I would need a nap. It was that exhausting. But I still wanted my mother in my life, and I still wanted to talk with her, so I came up with a clever idea. And the next time I spoke with her, I said, Mom, I really want to talk with you. I love you. And, I want to be close with you. But, I'm perceiving the things that you're saying is really, very draining. And I gave her some example, and I tried to do it as neutral as possible. Instead of, you're doing this, you're doing that. It wasn't like that. It's like, I gave her examples, and she wasn't happy. And I said, so let's make a deal. And I also showed her that, by focusing on all the negative things, that it wasn't helping her either. So it wasn't helping me. I wasn't able to help her, and it wasn't helping her. And she did get that. She did get that because whatever she focused on, she was going to get more of, because she had a whole life history of that. So she knew that was true. So I said to her, let's try something new. And she said, okay, what? I said, when we talk from now on, you have 5 minutes to complain. And I defined what complaining was, okay? And then after those 5 minutes are up, we talk about some positive stuff. And, well, she got really upset with that. And she's like, I guess, and I'm like, well, that's what it is. And, if that doesn't work for you, then we'll just speak for 5 minutes and we'll say goodbye and, whatever. It's your choice. Very neutral, very neutral. So next time we talk, and, and I didn't even have to remind her of the 5 minutes, because I'm sure she was, thinking about the whole time. She only has 5 minutes. But she went, okay, only my 5 minutes is up. Okay. And then we would talk about something positive. Okay. And I didn't give her any energy to anything that she said about, the 5 minute limit. And this was going on for weeks, and it was actually working. She would, talk about things that weren't working for 5 minutes, and then after that we would talk about positive things. It was working. I was feeling better about speaking with her, and she was actually feeling better in her life, which was really cool. But she was still complaining about it. Well, months had passed, and one day she called me up, and she started talking about, her friend Matilda, who she went out with, and she started saying, her name really wasn't and stuff, but it was close to that. And she said, well, Matilda, every time I see Matilda's complaining about this and that, and I can't stand it. It's just driving me crazy, and it's exhausting, and I don't want to see it. I said, you know what I did? I said, what? She said, I told Matilda that she has 5 minutes to complain, and then after that we have to talk about pleasant things.
Oh, my God, that's amazing. Oh, my gosh, and we all think they're not even listening to us.
Yeah.
And she took that and she used it for herself. That's amazing. I think, you made her aware of herself to the point where now, she was at that transitional stage where she wanted, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah. So I don't know. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Lawrence. Go ahead.
No, I was just I don't know how you got her to do that.
I didn't get her to do anything. It wasn't even about getting her to. It was just I was clear what I needed to have a relationship with her. And this is something that we don't do in relationships. We just let, and I'm going to give you a whole other side of this, so I'm going to completely contradict myself in a moment here, okay? So So it's because there's all on one side. I'm just giving you various ideas and take what works for you. So so it's like we get to set conditions in relationships. It's like in the most extreme condition. I was in an abusive relationship at 16, 17 years old, and I finally woke up and said, wait a second, no one's allowed to hit me. Okay, well, then I started setting more boundaries in my life. No one's allowed to speak negative to me. You can speak to me, you can give me feedback, you can tell me, what it is that you need, but the whole criticism, negativeness, that doesn't work for me, and I don't do that to people either. And so there's that we really do get to set conditions, and I was very clear what I needed, and I set those conditions, and it was my mother's choice whether she was going to meet those conditions and have a relationship with me or not. It was up to her. So instead of just cutting her off, because I see a lot of people do that, they just like, I just can't be in a relationship with them. I'm done with them. And the relationship's over. April, my daughter-in-law, who's been on the show many times, with her own mom, she figured out what she needed in that relationship, and she went to her mom and she said, if we're going to spend time together, if we're going to have a relationship, this, and this is what I need. And if you can't meet those conditions, then we won't have a relationship, so it's your choice. And lo and behold, her mother decided to have a relationship with them. And they were reasonable. It's like, you do what you say you're going to do. You don't criticize me, whatever. And so they have a relationship. So now that I've said all that, I'm going to completely contradict myself.
Go ahead.
And people can choose for themselves. So, and I may have told this on Shy before. I've told it on other shows that I've been on. So my son Travis, he was last year. He was 13 years old, and it was just around this time of year. And he had his very first girlfriend, and she was as mean to him as she was popular, and she was pretty popular. And so, I was hearing these things from his friends and some from him about, some ways that she spoke to him and she treated him. And so one morning, I'm driving him to school, and I'm being the, loving, supportive mom, and I'm going on talking to him about setting boundaries, very much like I just did, with us here today. And he's sitting there. I know he's listening to me. He's looking at me. And I'm going on and on and on and on. I'm giving examples, right? And I look at him, and he's still not saying anything. And all of a sudden, I got it. I said, Travis, you really don't care how she speaks to you, do you? And he just burst out laughing. He said, Mom, why would I care how she speaks to me? That's none of my business.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Only a kid who grew up in your house would be able to do something. That's amazing.
I started laughing. Yeah. He said,
amazing.
That's not my business. I just let her do what she wants. I just let her be herself, and if when I'm done with it, then, then I don't have to be around her. So. Yeah,
I totally admire that quality. It's awesome, not to let things get to you. That's where I'm at too. Definitely need to get to that stage where, people can rant and rave around me, but, that's their thing. It has nothing to do with me.
Right.
That's awesome.
Right.
I wanted to bring something home that, I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to tell, everybody on this call something that is very important to the issue of self-esteem and self-worth. And you're hearing, I hear you, Nanice, saying the word choice many, many times. I call it decision, but it's the same thing. Like, it all starts, if you want to know where to start, it all starts with a choice.
Right.
And when you make that choice that you say, I'm going to figure this out, or I'm going to face this, or I'm going to set this boundary, or I'm not going to tolerate this, or I'm going to sit down with my mother, all of that started, the first thing, the first spark is always a choice. And until you make that choice, really nothing changes in your life.
Right.
So you can't even, if you're not willing to take that step, and sit down and make a choice to have a better life, to treat yourself better, to create more space around you, to do the things you want, to be with the people you want and not be with the people you don't want, to figure out your issues that are holding you back from living a better life. All of those things. I mean, this whole show could be called, choice, choose. You're at choice. People think they're not, they can't, they have no choice, but they do. And
well,
once
we're constantly choosing. We're constantly choosing. We're just not consciously choosing. That's what we don't realize. And the power to create. This is the one thing that The Secret is missing. I know we only have a few minutes left for the show, but and we should do a show on this, absolutely. Yeah, the thing that The Secret is missing is this concept of choice. Nothing happens until we make a choice. Miracles happen, magic happens, but nothing happens until we choose. People don't realize this. And if something's not happening in your life, or you think that, you wonder, well, have I chosen this? Then you haven't chosen. Because when you choose something, there is no doubt. Nothing can stop you. And I do mean nothing. And if anything can stop you, then you really haven't chosen. So if we look at all these famous people and famous authors or famous film stars or famous athletes, most of them, when we examine their lives, what we see is choice. So it's like that movie Pursuit of Happiness. The only reason that he was able to succeed is because he made a choice that it could be no other way. He had to succeed. He had to succeed. Exactly. And that's what it is. And this is actually what I don't know if you know this, but my new book, Zest Point, that's what this is about. It's Zest Point, Z-E-S-T Point. It's about the power of choice, because the power of choice is the point of manifestation. Yeah.
Wow, yeah. Beautiful. Is that the title of your new book?
Yep, Zest Point, Z-E-S.
Is it out?
Point. It is in print, and I haven't advertised it at all yet. So if anybody's interested, just email me, and it'll be on my website soon. It's really an amazing book. You read this book, and you can change your life by the end of the book, and it only takes a couple hours to read, too. That's the really cool thing about it.
Okay, so that's at Nanice.com, and somewhere is your book over there?
Yeah. That one's not up yet. Just came out. So just email me.
Oh.
Click on the contact me now, and I'll get your information again.
This is the inside scoop here on the call.
Inside scoop. Exactly. Well, it looks like it's that time, Lawrence, and this was wonderful. So should we? I have guests scheduled for the next few weeks, but how about you come back on the show and we'll try this again?
The next it was awesome. Yeah. I hope everybody had as much fun as I did, and it sounded like you did, Nanice.
I did.
That was really fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
I know, me too. So when you come back, we'll talk about choice.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Yeah.
I feel like we're empowered. I think that was helpful, and people could definitely, take that with them and really, do something special, especially now that the new year is coming and everything. So, thank you so much. I'm grateful to be a part of co-creating with you here on the show, and I hope to do it again. It was really a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. You're awesome. Thanks, Lawrence, and have a great night.
Okay, you too. Take care and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. Yeah. It truly is. Lawrence is right. It's about the power of choice. So no matter what we're talking about, when we talk about transformation, what we're really talking about is making that choice. Once you make that choice, everything changes, and you have the power to transform your life. It's all within you. There's nothing outside of you that's making you do anything. There's nothing outside of you that's making you will see things a certain way. You have that power inside of you. And just by understanding that and tapping into your power of choice, everything changes. There's more information about this on my website at Nanice.com. That's www.nanice, Nanice.com. Tons of free articles. All my shows are archived there. Look for articles, shows, and more. You'll have a feast. You'll go back day after day. There's enough for years of reading and listening pleasure. Also a free book download. I'm offering my I Am book free. It will only be there a few more days, and then it won't be there anymore, so please take advantage of that. And 2 free sound downloads. And email me. I want to hear from you. And have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. You have been listening to Chai with Nanice. I'm Nanice. Bye for now.
Thank you for having Chai with Nanice. Please go to www.nanice.com for great free stuff that will empower you to live your best possible life. Free books, articles, shows, meditation audios, and so much more at Nanice.com. That's Nanice.com. Nanice's books are also available in all major bookstores and Amazon. Check out The Infinite Power of You, Even Gandhi Got Hungry and Buddha Got Mad, Zest Point, Lip Prints, and many others by Nanice Ellis. To find out about one-on-one coaching and how Nanice can personally coach you to experience your best life possible, please email mybestlife@nanice.com.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. That's Nanice.com. Thank you.